On Father's Day, my daughter handed me a $10 keychain, smiling like it was gold. Hours later, I saw her father-in-law flaunting a $15,000 watch, bought with my money. That was the moment I realized the years of sacrifice meant nothing to her. And what I did next? You won't believe. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe and tell us where you're watching from in the comments below. Don't blink. This is the kind of story that slips past you while you're still smiling through a cheap smile. It was Father's Day in Chicago. Sky clear, air thin, the kind of morning that makes even old bones feel young. I brewed coffee, polished the picture frame of my late wife, and told myself the ache behind my ribs was just nostalgia trying on a new suit. My name is Michael Carter. I raised my daughter Sophia alone. I sold weekends, sleep, and a boat I never bought so she could have a life that didn't taste like compromise. I gave her everything a father could give, except a childhood with two parents. That was the debt I tried to pay back every single day. The doorbell rang. Sophia swept in first. Sleek ponytail, ivory trench coat, perfume like the lobby of an expensive hotel. Ethan trailed behind, hands in his pockets, smirk pressed on like a brand-new mask. She held out a tiny gift bag, all tissue and air. "Happy Father's Day, Dad." I looked into that bag like it might bite me. A metal keychain, $10, not a cent more. A flat little disc stamped Best Dad with the kind of font you find on clearance. I forced a grin. Thoughtful. Her eyes skittered away. "You're always losing your keys." Her voice was syrup with splinters in it. We made coffee we didn't want. We traded small talk that couldn't swim. Ethan checked the time like he had somewhere important to be. Anywhere but here. They left after 13 minutes. I watched the door close and felt the air in my living room sigh with relief. Then I saw it. A ping from my phone. Facebook. Sophia's new post. There was William, her father-in-law. If you've never met a man who collects respect like coins, that's William. He was raising a glass at a Gold Coast restaurant, grinning wide enough to show his money. But it wasn't the smile that punched me in the gut. It was the watch on his wrist. A Patek Philippe. Blue dial. White gold. $15,000 easy. More with taxes. The caption said, "To the best father-in-law, a gift worthy of you." I heard the words I'd heard 2 months earlier. "Dad, I need help. It's medication. It's urgent." I wired the money before she even hung up. I stared so long the screen dimmed. I stared so hard the room started to tilt. $10 keychain for me. $15,000 around William's wrist. She didn't even try to hide it. She posted it for the world. For me. I got up too fast, and the coffee mug clipped the edge of the counter, shattered. Porcelain shrapnel everywhere. I grabbed the broom, hands shaking, and swept my kitchen floor like I could sweep the truth back under the rug I raised her on. I thought of the night Sophia had the flu at 9 and threw up strawberry yogurt across the back seat. I thought of the $5,000 I pulled from a savings account I told myself I didn't need, so she could intern for free in New York one summer. I thought of vowing to my wife at a hospital bed that I would carry both their halves, no matter how heavy. My phone buzzed again with the picture. William's watch burned hot as a stove coil, and something inside me cooled. Not rage, not yet. Cold, precision, an engine locking its gears. I clicked through the comments. "So classy." "How generous." Sophia replying heart emojis like confetti. The clock over the mantel ticked, then talked, then sounded like it was pounding a nail into the wall behind it. I laughed, once, sharp as a snap. Then I opened my laptop. Oak Street. That's where we buy nice lies in this city. I pulled up the boutiques with the sanctified lighting and the security guards who wear suits and suspicion. I traced my bank statements back 2 months. There it was. A charge at a jewelry store posted on a Saturday. $15,182.16. The same day she'd called. The same day I'd told her, "Don't worry, honey, we'll fix this." I shut the laptop. I picked up the keychain. I pressed its cheap edge into my palm until it left a mark. Then I clipped it to my keys because I'm funny that way. Here's the hook, and you better hold it. I didn't cry. Not then. I didn't scream. I didn't smash a second mug to prove something to a floor that didn't care. I put on my jacket, stepped into the Chicago sunlight, and went to find out just how much of my life I'd been paying for without reading the price tag. Consider this a confession or a map out of a maze. Sometimes the door out of hell is the same one you came in, and sometimes it's just Oak Street on a weekday, and you keep walking until the truth lets you in. Oak Street gleamed the way money gleams, like it needs you to notice. Marble floors, quiet music, hands folded at the waist, eyes cataloging who belongs and who's getting away with it. I stood taller than I felt. "Good afternoon, sir," a clerk said. Young, polished. She had those soft hands that never held anything heavier than a velvet tray. "Shopping for someone special?" "Information," I said. I slid the printed screenshot across glass. "This watch, blue dial, white gold, sold 2 months ago." She didn't touch the paper. She looked past me to a manager who looked at my shoes, then my face, then nodded. The manager appeared like a summoned character. "I'm James." "I'm Michael Carter," I said. "That watch was purchased with my credit card. I'd like to confirm the transaction." "I can't disclose client details," he began, a script already in his throat. "You can confirm a payment method," I said. Calm. Even. "Or we can discuss it with a detective later this afternoon. Your choice." He paused. The music didn't. The clock on the wall moved another minute of my life into a file folder. James exhaled. "Let me see what I can do." He disappeared. I stared at a case of diamond bracelets glittering like little cages. I pictured Sophia's hands wrapped around my credit card. "It's medication, Dad." I pictured my wife's hands pulling a blanket to her chin. "You promise?" I had promised the world, and the world cashed in with interest. James returned with a tablet. "We processed a purchase of a Patek Philippe, reference number 5168, blue dial, March 18th, he said. "American Express, ending in 76112. "Mine." He glanced up. "A young woman purchased it with a man about her age. She said it was a gift for family." He was neutral as a cloudy sky, but his eyes softened, just a hair. "Is everything all right, Mr. Carter?" "No," I said, "but it will be." He offered me water, like grief is dehydrating. I didn't take it. "One more thing," I said. "Check your logs for that same card, the week before and the week after. Jewelry, accessories, anything." That wasn't in the plan. That was my gut moving faster than my head, and my head sprinting to catch up. James hesitated. He didn't owe me that, but he tapped the screen. "We have 2 additional transactions," he said. "A bracelet, a pair of diamond studs, both under 5,000, separate days. Same card." I saw the numbers cascade behind my eyes like slot reels. Saw Sophia laughing in a mirror. Saw Ethan's smile without shame. My mouth went dry, and this time I took the water. "Thank you," I said. "You've been professional." "Good luck," he said, which is what you say to a man walking into a storm without an umbrella. I stepped outside, and Chicago slapped me in the face with cold wind. I walked without destination, stepped around a puddle that held the sky like a broken bowl. I kept moving until the anger thawed enough to feel like focus. the investigation didn't stop on Oak Street. It moved into my living room like it paid rent. I pulled bank statements. I pulled email receipts. I called American Express fraud and listened to hold music that sounded like an apology someone wrote on a keyboard at 3 a.m. They flagged 4 charges I hadn't seen: makeup, a spa, a weekend at a lake resort 2 hours north. The totals stacked like bricks, all with my card, all signed with my trust. I traced phone records and saw the timing, calls from Sophia right before certain charges. I remembered her voice so close I could smell the lie. "Dad, can I come by?" Right before, "Dad, can you help me?" Right before, "Dad, this means everything." I'd said, "Of course," so many times the phrase had teeth marks. I paced the room, sandwich untouched. The clock ticked. The fridge hummed. Ordinary sounds in an ordinary house, except my life had turned into a stage where the props were knives. By dusk, I had a folder, printed statements, screenshots, a timeline. I slid it into a manila envelope and wrote Sophia on the tab in block letters. Then I opened a fresh envelope and wrote Michael, because somewhere in the debris there had to be space for me, too. The phone rang. An unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Another number. Same story. Then Sophia. I watched it vibrate across the coffee table like it wanted off the edge. "Hey, Dad," her recorded voice finally said, light as foam. "Just checking in. Love you." Then, softer. "We good?" I hit delete. Not because I didn't want to hear her voice. Because I did. At 10 p.m., I typed "Family Law Attorney Chicago Best" into Google, and the internet crowded my screen with teeth. I scrolled through smiles and slogans until one profile stopped me. Linda Parker. Her bio was all grit and stats. Fraud, elder exploitation, financial abuse. Older clients named her like a lighthouse. I emailed her everything. Subject line: urgent. I need my life back. I didn't sleep. I lay in bed counting ceiling cracks like they had answers tucked between them. I saw Sophia at 5 in a Daisy Troop vest, pinning on a badge for kindness. I saw her at 25, choosing a dress I couldn't afford, and telling me I was her hero. I saw her yesterday, handing me a $10 keychain, and looking like she hoped it might catch my tears. Morning found me. I put on the same jacket, the one with hope in the pocket, and I stepped into a different city. This one had cliffs. Linda's office lived in a brick building near the river. Her handshake had calluses. "Michael," she said, "let's get to work." That was the moment I knew. This wasn't just betrayal. This was war. And for once, I wasn't showing up to lose. If you're going to declare war on your own house, bring witnesses and paper. Linda spread my life across her conference table. Statements, screenshots, a chart she drew with a pen that clicked like a metronome. "We freeze access. We notify the bank. We build a record," she said. "Then we decide how much smoke we want to make. Sophia will push back. Abusers always do." She didn't flinch on that word. It landed like a gavel. I nodded. "Do it." We called the bank together. We added notes to my file that might as well have been flares. Unauthorized. Misrepresentation. Financial exploitation by adult child. The banker's voice turned careful. "We're very sorry you're going through this, Mr. Carter." I left Linda's office feeling taller. That's a strange word for a man who learned to live small so other people could stretch out. Outside, the river moved along like time. No interest in our drama. Sophia called before I was out of the block. I answered. "Dad? What's going on? My card got declined at Whole Foods. Is there a glitch?" "No glitch," I said. "What did you do?" "What did you do?" I asked, and the words tasted new. Silence. Then the first tactic, confusion. I don't understand. Oak Street, Patek Philippe, March 18th, blue dial, white gold, 5 digits. Her breath hitched. I heard traffic on her end, a horn, someone laughing. Dad, this is ridiculous. That was medication, I know, I said. You got William the cure. Her voice sharpened. You're being dramatic. It was a celebration. You know how much William has done for us. He practically paid for your wedding, I offered. I did that. I paid for your second chance at grad school. I paid for your rent when Ethan was between jobs, for your breaks, your braces, your New York summer, and your Christmas flights when you decided you were allergic to O'Hare. I have paid for you, Sophia, in every currency. That's so unfair, she said. This is about control, isn't it? You hate that I choose my own family now. You can't stand that William respects me. You're pathetic. You were useful when you paid the bills. Now you're just in the way. There it was. The mask dropped, and underneath was the voice of a stranger who looked like the little girl in my wallet. You don't know what you're saying, I said, and I meant it. Unblock my card, she said. Now. No. The line buzzed with her breathing. Then the second tactic. Pity. Ethan's going to lose his job if we can't pay the car note, she whispered. We're underwater. I'm sorry, I said. I meant that too. Sorry, like rain falling on a house already on fire. She started to cry, small at first, then big. The third tactic. Flood. I held the phone like it might burn me. You did this, she finally hissed between breaths. Whatever happens is on you. She hung up. I stood on the sidewalk and looked up into a blue sky that refused to change for me. And then my neighbor called out, Michael, that you? Ben lives 2 doors down, retired teacher. Walks a beagle that judges everyone. He crossed the street. Saw your girl a few weeks back, he said. Nice coat. She was on Oak, that boutique strip. Caroline & Co's, I think. Had a couple bags. Fancy ones. Thanks, Ben, I said. He nodded like he'd handed me a weather report. Beagle likes her. That counts for something, he added, and wandered off. It didn't count for what I needed. The police called that afternoon. Mr. Carter, I'm Officer Ramirez with the 18th District. We received a complaint about financial abuse. We'd like to hear your side. Sophia made it official. I had to laugh, and it came out hollow. Linda and I went together. Fluorescent lights. Coffee that tasted like it had a personal vendetta. Ramirez was young, but steady. He listened. He took notes. He looked at the stack of documents like a math problem that would solve itself if he stared hard enough. Your daughter alleges you're withholding family funds and controlling her spending in a coercive way, he said. I'm not withholding family funds, I said. I'm protecting my bank account. I'm not controlling her spending. I'm refusing to be the one who pays for it. Linda slid the timeline across. Documented misrepresentation. It's clear. He can press charges for fraud if this continues. Ramirez didn't smile, but his eyes warmed 1 degree. People call this office when they want the law to pick a parent, he said. The law doesn't like that job. He turned to me. Do you feel threatened, Mr. Carter? I feel invaded, I said. I feel like my daughter broke into my wallet and then called the cops when I changed the locks. He nodded, wrote that down. We'll file this as a disputed transaction case with your bank and record your statement. He paused. You did the right thing coming in. Sophia texted me from an unknown number later that night. You're humiliating me. This is sick. I stared at the words. I thought of humiliation. The humble root. The earth. Maybe being pushed to the ground is how you remember how to stand up. I put my phone face down and turned off the lamp. War at home isn't bombs. It's paper. It's quiet. It's the sound of a door locking. It's a man sitting in a dark room teaching himself to breathe again because no one else will do it for him. The next morning, Linda slid a stack of documents across her desk like a dealer with better odds than Vegas. "We're updating your will," she said. "You'll establish a trust with a charitable remainder. Executor, me, unless you have a saint in your contacts who returns calls." "You'll do," I said. "Aim high," she said, and I smiled for the first time in days. We moved through clauses, real property disposition, digital assets, end-of-life directives, the nasty tangle of what if and when. I initialed sections that felt like cutting paper people with paper scissors. Somewhere between page 9 and 10, I felt the floor steady. Then Linda pulled another file. "Found something you need to see," she said. "Your bank flagged an attempted loan application last month. Home equity line. Applicant, Michael Carter. Signature, not yours. My name. Someone else's handwriting. The forged curve where I always square." My stomach dropped, then landed hard. "Sophia?" "Likely," Linda said. "Could be Ethan. Could be both." She had already called the bank's fraud department and a contact in underwriting she'd gone to college with. The application had stalled in verification. We were lucky. The world had paused long enough for us to catch it. I felt a heat I hadn't felt in years. Rage, not the cold, operative focus I'd been nursing. Rage has a voice, like a match. They would have put a lien on my home and told themselves a story where they were heroes, I said, and my voice didn't shake. Linda tapped the paper. "Now you know what you're cutting loose." We walked to the notary, signed, stamped, sealed. The official thud of a stamp has a music to it, if you've been waiting long enough for the downbeat. "Congratulations," the notary said. "You're a man with a plan." "About time," I said. I drove to William's estate on the North Shore because I wanted a face-to-face. I wanted him to see what he was wearing. I wanted to know if he knew. Ethan opened the door like a question mark and led me down a hallway lined with oil paintings of men who probably never did their own grocery shopping. William stood in a library that smelled like leather and privilege. He wore a navy suit, a white shirt, and shame. He saw me, and his face did a thing I'd never seen it do. Cracked. "Michael," he said, voice low. "You came?" "Yes," I said. "I did." He looked down at his wrist, then unclasped the Patek and set it on the desk between us like a live thing. "I didn't know," he said. "She told me it was from her. A thank you. For everything." "She took $15,000 from me for your thank you," I said. "And that's just the headline." He pinched the bridge of his nose. "I'm sorry." "I didn't come for an apology," I said. "I came for a witness." He nodded. "Then witness this. Sophia and Ethan are out. No investments, no allowances, no entry." He inhaled like a diver and let it go. I liked thinking I was helping. Turns out I was keeping them from learning gravity. That's on me. "For what it's worth, gravity's a good teacher," I said. "It's cruel, but honest." He pushed the watch toward me. "Take it. It's yours. Sell it. Smash it. I don't care. I'll be calling my lawyer." "Linda Parker?" I asked, and he raised an eyebrow. "We move in small circles," I said, "but not for long." I left with the Patek in a box that looked like it should sing when it opened. The sunlight outside felt sharper, like it meant it. By dusk, they came. Sophia stood on my porch, mascara streaked, her voice raw. She dropped to her knees, clutching my arm. "Please, Dad, don't do this. We'll drown without you." Ethan shifted, jaw tight, fists half-clenched like he might explode. "You're ruining us!" he spat. Their desperation filled the air, hot and frantic. And yet, for the first time in years, I felt steady. Their storm couldn't move me anymore. Ethan cleared his throat. Look, Mr. Carter, we can make this right. Payment plan or something. I've got opportunities coming. I laughed, a low sound that surprised me with its warmth. I hope you do, Ethan. I truly do. But the Bank of Michael is closed. Sophia's face hardened. The fourth tactic, threat. If you don't help, we'll drown, she said, and I won't forget who held my head under. I loved you more than oxygen, I said, and you used it to drown me. Now I'm done gasping. Breathe on your own. I opened the door, stepped inside, and closed it gently. No slam. Slamming is for people who want to be heard. I wanted to be done. I leaned against the wood and let every tendon in my shoulders drop. The house hummed with the low music of a place that's safe enough to be quiet. The clock on the mantel ticked. At some point, it had stopped. At some point, it started again. Linda texted, "Final step tomorrow? I have an idea you'll like." For the first time since Father's Day, I slept. The kind of sleep that keeps its promises. The buyer met me at a downtown jeweler with a loupe and a smile. He handled the Patek like a priest handling a relic and counted out $1,400 after fees. Cashier's check. Crisp paper. Clean break. "What brings this on?" he asked, making small talk with a stranger's life. "Spring cleaning," I said. He laughed. I didn't. I drove to the south side, to a brick building where the paint peeled and the lobby smelled like hope and bleach. The sign read, "Horizons Home for Children." Inside, a woman with laugh lines and tired eyes introduced herself as Director Harris. "We don't usually see checks like this," she said, hands shaking a little. "You sure?" "I'm sure," I said. "No plaque, please. No photo. Just use it where it hurts the most, to be short." She blinked fast and led me through hallways lined with construction paper art. Kids ran past, a tangle of knees and shoelaces, and a boy with a gap-toothed grin skidded to a stop. "You the piano guy?" he asked. "Not today," I said, and found myself wishing I were. "But I've got something better." We walked past a kitchen where volunteers chopped peppers, into a room with bunk beds and blankets that wanted replacing. "Last week the water heater died," Harris said. "We got by with space heaters, but the electric bill—" "Pay it," I said. "Fix the heater. Buy new blankets. Get better shampoo. Get the girl who hates math a tutor who makes it less scary. Get the boy who loves drawing an art class where the paper doesn't tear when he erases." She gave a sound that was halfway between a sob and a laugh. "I wish you were on our board." "I'm not a board guy," I said. "I'm a start-over guy." She squeezed my forearm. "That's the rarest kind." I left lighter and heavier at the same time. Lighter in the chest. Heavier where the world had rested a hand and said, "Good." Linda and I met later at a coffee shop in Lincoln Park. She wore a navy blazer and sneakers that said she had miles to go. "You did it," she said, nodding to the faint line around my mouth that only shows when I've made a decision I can live with. "I did something," I said. She slid a folder across. "Community fund," she said. "Seed money from a client of mine who likes redemption arcs. We're starting a mentorship program for adults 50+ re-entering the workforce after caregiving and other detours. I told them about you, the way you turn pain into tools. They want you as an advisor, paid, flexible, dignified." I opened the folder. Bullet points, budgets, calendars. Real. "You know I'm not a saint," I said. "I don't hire saints," she said. "They're bad at paperwork." We walked to the lake afterward, because that's what you do when the air is kind, and you feel like the city might forgive you your mistakes. Children shrieked at the water's edge. A man juggled. A woman sang to herself and didn't notice she was beautiful. I threw a flat stone. It skittered twice, then sank. I thought about my wife, her hand on my neck in those last months, grounding me with a touch that knew my edges. I thought about Sophia at 6, cheeks sticky with popsicle, promising she'd never leave me. Promises are weather. They change. I didn't want to end with anger. Anger is a good engine, but it burns dirty. I wanted to end with something I could breathe. So here's what I learned in the blaze, and if you're still with me, let it be a shortcut for you. First, love is not a debit card. You don't prove it by swiping. You prove it by boundaries that honor both the giver and the gift. The day I cut off the money was the day I cut out the rot. My heart didn't break. It healed around a clean edge. Second, gratitude is not a tax. You can't charge it. You can't demand it. You can only model it until the people around you learn the language or go silent. When they go silent, turn up the volume on your life elsewhere. Third, what you give away can still be yours. I spent 20 years giving Sophia everything I had. She left. It hurt. I gave a watch to a shelter in the shape of a check, and for the first time, my generosity looked like me instead of a mirror for someone else. Fourth, starting over is not a young man's game. It's an honest man's game. You strip down to what still fits. Your name, your skills, your humor, your promise to yourself. Then you build a life that owes fewer apologies. Fifth, forgiveness isn't always reunion. Sometimes it's letting the door click closed with love on your side of the wood. I forgive the child she was. I forgive the father I tried to be. I do not open my wallet to the woman who threatens me with drowning. I wish her a life jacket and a lesson. Weeks passed. My house grew quiet in a way that sounded like respect. I fixed the clock on the mantel. For years it had been silent, stuck, useless, like the trust I kept giving away. Now, each tick was a promise kept. Not to her, to me. I took my neighbor Ben's beagle for a walk and asked him to judge me. He seemed to approve. I visited Horizons and saw a new water heater humming like a satisfied cat. A girl who hated math showed me a worksheet with more checks than crosses. A boy who loved drawing held a sketchbook with real paper. I met with the Community Fund Committee on a Tuesday. We sat around a table that had seen its share of spilled coffee and good ideas. They asked me what men my age need most when the life they built for someone else is gone. Reminders, I said, of competence, of purpose, of mornings that belong to them, of nights that don't scare them, of hands that can still hold. Linda smiled over the rim of her cup, like someone who backed the right horse. "Can you help us build that?" the director asked. "I already started," I said. After the meeting, my phone buzzed. A number I didn't know. A voice I once would have died to hear. "Dad, it's me. Sophia." I stood very still. "I heard about the donation," she said. That was good. "Thank you," I said. A wind moved across the park. Leaves answered in flutters. "I'm figuring things out," she said. "I hope so," I said. I meant it. The line hummed. She was waiting for a door I couldn't open without losing the house again. "I have to go," she said. "Okay," I said. She didn't say I love you. Neither did I. We both hung up like adults who finally understood the cost of words. I walked to the lake and watched a kid learning to ride a bike, his father running beside him with a hand on the seat. The kid shouted, "Don't let go!" and the father laughed and did anyway. The kid wobbled, then found the line between falling and flight. He turned, expecting to see a hand, and found empty air. He kept going. I sat on a bench and let the world happen. A siren, a gull, laughter, distant thunder that might be a train. I reached for my keys. the cheap keychain clicked the way it had on Father's Day. Back then, it mocked me. Tonight it sounded different, like the mantel clock finally ticking again, like a lock turning, like a door opening. The same doors, yes, but now they opened to a life that finally belonged to me. That's my story. Not the only one like it, but mine. If it found you on a day when your love looks like a ledger and your heart looks overdrafted, breathe with me. Count to 10. Then pick a lock you forgot you own and turn it. It's the small sound that changes everything. A click. A yes to yourself. When I look back now, I realize this was never about a watch, or money, or even betrayal. It was about respect, about sacrifice, about remembering that love without gratitude becomes a chain, and love with respect becomes freedom. I gave my daughter everything, but in the end, I had to give myself back the one thing I'd forgotten: my own dignity. Maybe you've carried a burden too heavy, for too long. Maybe you've poured your heart into someone who only took. If so, let my story remind you. Boundaries are not the end of love. Sometimes they are the beginning of self-respect. And in the quiet moments, when the house is still and the clock ticks steady, I know I didn't lose everything. I reclaimed myself. And that sound, the clock keeping time, the keychain clicking soft in my hand, reminds me, dignity, once found, is a victory no betrayal can ever take away. If this story touched you, please like this video, share it with someone who might need to hear it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from, and if you've ever had to choose between love and self-respect. Your story might be the one that gives someone else the courage to stand tall.